Hey everyone, Bitcoin is on track for the highest daily close ever in its history. So the way stock markets and Bitcoin works is they're measured in days, and it's not 24-hour periods. It's measured using Universal Coordinated Time, UTC. And because Mississippi is in either, it's in Central Time, but whether we're on Daylight Savings Time or not depends on whether we are UTC -5 or UTC -6, meaning the official daily close for markets that trade 24 hours a day around the entire world. That daily close is either 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., depending on the time of year, whether we are in Daylight Savings Time or not. So Bitcoin is on track right now at 101,500 for the highest daily close in history. Now, it could dip back down before, I can't remember if the daily close right now is at either 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Anyway, whichever one it is, if in the next couple hours Bitcoin does not dip significantly, we will hit the highest daily close in history. And the reason daily closes matter is because intraday trading often is up and down and it's more volatile, meaning for a brief fraction of a second, Bitcoin has been as high as $104,000, but that was like a brief second. And that was, in the middle of the day when there was tons of trading activity and things like that. So Bitcoin has never actually closed at the end of the day higher than 101,500, which is where it's right now. So if it doesn't dip, we are on track for the highest daily close in Bitcoin's history if it doesn't dip in the next couple hours. So I wanted to give some thoughts on some recent developments all over Bitcoin. A ton is happening, and I've recruited a small team to help me get my content out there. It's all nonprofit, it's all just educational, but I'm trying to get my videos and the stuff I posted on Facebook, I'm trying to get that out on YouTube and get it out on Instagram and get it out on other mediums all over the place, including Twitter. So anyway, I've been putting a lot of work into that, so I've done fewer videos, and all of this is part-time because it has to fit around all of my responsibilities for Prospera. So I'm just fitting in little bits here and little bit there all over the place, and trying to outsource as much as I can to other people so I can just record videos now and then and other people can work their magic. But anyway, so Bitcoin's going great. It's volatile as you expect. Anytime you have a huge swing up or down, you're going to get a lot of choppiness as people try to figure out, is it going to keep going up? Is it going down? Is it going up? Is it going down? Nobody knows. All that matters is it's going up in the long term, which means you should buy it and hold it. And it's just not that complicated. But I want to cover a bunch of highlights. So yesterday, the shareholders of Microsoft voted for Microsoft not to adopt Bitcoin as a treasury reserve asset. That was expected. Bill Gates and the board of directors at Microsoft had said they did not want to mess with it and were recommending a vote against. But now Amazon shareholders are demanding a vote at Amazon. So one of these companies is going to flip. I don't know which one. Tesla already has more than $1 billion of Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And so, one of these big companies is going to end up with Bitcoin on their balance sheet, whether they like it or not, because shareholders have now started shareholder activism, which can essentially force every big company to have a vote at least on Bitcoin on their balance sheet as opposed to holding US dollars. And the reason the shareholders are upset is because some of these companies are sitting on tens of billions of dollars that are being inflated away. And so they feel like, look, I've paid for this company to generate a ton of value, and they've stored it in ice cubes. And the ice cubes are melting. And those ice cubes are called US dollars. And the US dollars are losing value over time. So why are we sitting on tens of billions of dollars that's losing value, which is hurting the shareholders, when we could be sitting on Bitcoin or some asset that's increasing in value? And Bitcoin is certainly the preferred one. So that's why shareholders are asking the various companies to please put their tens of billions of dollars in something something that's not melting and losing value over time. So that vote was yesterday by Microsoft. I don't know when the vote will be for Amazon, but the shareholders have already requested a vote by Amazon to put Bitcoin on the balance sheet. So that's happening. El Salvador is obviously doing great with all of their Bitcoin holdings. Bhutan continues to mine Bitcoin. Lots happening on that front. MicroStrategy, which is run by Michael Saylor, the founder and CEO, has been buying vast quantities of Bitcoin over the last few weeks. If you'll remember over the summer, You remember I did a whole series of videos on how freaked out everybody was, and which is why the price was down in the 50,000s, because the German government was planning to dump $3 billion of Bitcoin onto the marketplace. Well, things have changed in the last 6 months, and Michael Saylor is now buying $3 billion of Bitcoin about every 10 days. So it's really insane. So his strategy is to issue stock of his company, MicroStrategy, and borrow money. It's a combination, and then use that money to turn around and buy Bitcoin. And so they have bought up tens of billions of dollars of Bitcoin right now. And the way they look at it is, it is a way to give people Bitcoin exposure who otherwise have no legal way to get it. So the money they're borrowing is from people that are doing convertible bonds or stock market investing and do not have the ability to invest in Bitcoin directly. Michael Saylor has said many times that if you can buy Bitcoin directly, you should. But if you cannot buy Bitcoin directly, if you manage a fund or a pension fund or a sovereign wealth fund or a family office that is prohibited from owning commodities directly and prohibited from owning digital assets directly, that you can invest in MicroStrategy, the company. And if you have to invest in publicly traded companies, it is the one publicly traded company you can invest in that will turn around and use every single penny to buy more Bitcoin, which is exactly what they've done. So he has continued to do that, and they have hoovered up just tens of billions of dollars of Bitcoin, which is then giving exposure to all of those shareholders that are giving him money to do that, because all of them now directly and indirectly are Bitcoin owners via their shareholdings in MicroStrategy. So that's been going on. Lots of other positive developments. Eric Trump, the son of Donald Trump, Eric Trump was in the United Arab Emirates, I believe, and gave a very, very impassioned speech pro-Bitcoin and how Bitcoin was going to change the world, and predicting that Bitcoin would go to more than $1 million per Bitcoin with almost near certainty. So, good news out of the, presidential family on that front. They continue to be very, very pro-Bitcoin. The head of the SEC that is recently appointed is a fantastic fit, very pro-Bitcoin. And it's just like more and more and more pro-Bitcoin stuff. It's like totally stacking up. So as far as things that, what's on the horizon, I just think everybody's going to get comfortable with Bitcoin at, in the 100,000. We've been above, below. And you get that every time, the first time Bitcoin crossed, $1 and then $10 and then $100 and then $1,000 and then $10,000. It did this. It bounced around above and below a little while before ultimately it got its footing. And everybody who wanted to get off the train in that general vicinity had finally gotten off the train in that general vicinity, clearing the way for Bitcoin to go higher. And then ultimately it goes higher, which is what it did. And it's, it spent, some time in the 30,000s, and then it went up to the 40,000s. And then it spent a long time between $55,000 and $70,000 after the Bitcoin ETFs were approved. And then ultimately it shot up quite quickly through the 70,000s and 80,000s and into the 90,000s. And then we've been bouncing around a good bit between 91,000 and 104,000 for the last week or two. So one of the things I wanted to cover was a lot of people they're always worried they're going to buy Bitcoin at the wrong price. I mean, just everybody's worried that they're going to buy Bitcoin at the wrong price. So let me tell you, I can absolutely assure you, the conversation was exactly the way it is now when everything had one fewer zero on it. And the reason I know is I was there. I was actively, following people and making decisions about buying Bitcoin back when it was between $9,100 and $10,400, which is exactly, if you knock one zero off, exactly where we are right now. Between $91,000 and $104,000 is the exact equivalent in percentage terms between $9,100 and $10,400. And everybody back then was doing the exact same thing. They were all worried that 104 was too expensive, and I'm going to have to wait for 91, but will it ever touch 91 again? Maybe it never will. And what about 96? And should I wait for 95? And maybe I should trade it and buy it at 93 and then sell it at 95 and try to do it again. Everybody who traded it got missed out. It just ran away and they lost. And all the people who were worried about whether they were going to buy it or not, it turned out to be a ridiculous assessment, because right now I can promise you nobody remembers whether they bought Bitcoin between $9,100 or $10,400. Everybody, including me, just wishes we had bought more. And if somebody came to me and said, hey, would you like to buy more Bitcoin? I would say yes. And if they said, okay, but here's the caveat, whether in 2017 or 2018, the stipulation is either in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, etc. You can buy more Bitcoin, but you have to buy it at the worst possible price of the whole year. Like, you have to time your timing awfully. And the answer is yes, I would buy absolutely as much Bitcoin as you could possibly let me buy at the worst price of 2017 or the worst price of 2018 or the worst price of 2019. So everybody's all worried about it. But at the end of the day, all that matters when you look in the rearview mirror is, did you end up buying? And all of those conversations people were having, worried that they were going to buy at 10% too expensive or 10%, could have gotten it 5% cheaper, are all completely irrelevant in the long term. In the long term, all that mattered is, did they actually buy it? Did they ever pull the trigger? If they pulled the trigger, good for them, home run. If they didn't pull the trigger, which is, natural human inclination is to chicken out and not do it, well, then they missed out, and that's tough and unnecessary. But anyway, that is the way that all works. If you're considering buying Bitcoin, just do it, in the long term, which is all that matters. You won't regret it. And if you try to trade it, you will lose, I promise. And if you try to time the market by waiting till it feels low or it feels high, I promise you're going to miss out on that too, because everybody who came before you who thought they were going to do the same thing lost. So that's the few highlights. I'll try to do some more videos, but I'll try to keep this one a little shorter. So I'll cut it off there and come up with some questions, and I'll try to knock another one out as well. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.